The South African government terminates the permits at the end of June. It will affect roughly 180,000 Zimbabweans living in South Africa. So the termination program is said to be for the benefit of permit holders themselves. Under the original agreement, permit holders are not eligible for any other type of visa, including work, scarce skills, or permanent residency. Ultimately, what does this mean for Zimbabwean permits holders in South Africa? For more on this, we're going to be joined by human rights attorney Carol Lemekwane via Zoom from the Human Rights Law Clinic in Johannesburg. Carol, good afternoon. Thank you for your time here on the SABC.
Good afternoon, Lizelle, and good afternoon to the viewers at home. Thanks for having me.
Carol, we've been following the case. We also spoke to our reporter, Kani Mapanga, who gave us a background to us being here today. Perhaps from a legal standpoint, you can unpack how the principle of separation of powers will be put to the test in this case.
Okay, so the principle of separation of powers is put to the test in a way that, remember, whatever decision that a person or an administrator makes in terms of the law, which is PAJA, has to have there should be communication with the affected bodies. So in this case, the minister made a decision without even going into to the public to see how people who are affected, which are the ZEP holders, will have to move on from here. So now what was said by the minister was that ZEP holders should now apply in terms of the mainstream visas using the Immigration Act, and which is looking at it, it's not really probable because if we look back, the reason why the minister introduced the ZEP was because there were a lot of political issues in Zimbabwe, and that affected people who were asylum seekers and refugees in South Africa. And there was also economic crisis. So these people were never consulted. Remember when it was first, the ZEP was first introduced, it was said that, okay, even if you have an asylum claim, but you feel the claim is not strong and all that, you can now apply. So now you have lived your whole life from 2009 in South Africa, and then now all of a sudden it's now you have to leave, pack up your bags and go back home. So we don't see any separation of powers taking place because the minister just made a decision without even consulting the affected parties.
Carol, thank you for that clarification as well, because when we look at what's unfolding, this case in particular, testing the limits of the judicial review principles, I wonder if you could speak to how can a policy decision be reviewed by the courts, and if so, are there any limits on such a review? What's emerging?
Yes, it can be reviewed, but so with the ZEP, to be specific, it's very tricky. So remember this. It was so the minister made a discretion in terms of Section 32 Section 31 2B to say that I'm giving people from Zimbabwe an opportunity to have equal rights as South Africans, to be in South Africa and enjoy their rights in South Africa. So now when the minister says that now I'm taking away this enjoyment of rights from this group of people, it now becomes tricky in a way that these people cannot, there is no way for appeal for them, unlike a person who received a rejection while they make a work visa application. So these are two different things. So when you make a work visa application and you are rejected, you are given a chance to appeal. And after appeal, if the decision maker says that I do not grant the appeal, then you can always take your matter to court for judicial review. So now that people have not been consulted and it was just a visa that was put in place by the minister, there is no opportunity for the visa holders to say, now we are taking this to judicial review, because now they are not rejected. It was just said that this visa is not going to be renewed. So it's different in that way, and hence the matter had to go directly to court. That's why Helen Suzman saw it fit, and other organizations such as Lawyers for Human Rights, who are supporting their case, to say that now, because the ZEP holders don't have an opportunity to do a judicial review case, then it's best to go to court directly, to say the court should now give a decision as to how we should proceed.
Carol, so you speak about the decision having been undertaken without a fair process. Some are also of the view that it's for political expediency. I wonder, based on the decision, what impression has been reinforced by the minister? Any concerns on the justification at this point?
Sorry, Lizelle, I couldn't hear your question.
I was just saying, on the back of what you spoke about, the decision being taken without, a fair process being undertaken, I wonder what impressions are being put forth by the minister in regards to this. Any concerns on the justifications put forth from their part?
Hey, Lizelle, that one is a very difficult question, because like you said, we also think that it's politically motivated, and we just do not understand why at this point the minister made that decision to say that ZEP permits will not be renewed any further. So we think it's really politically motivated, and even though if it was, we would have appreciated if the right procedures were followed in saying that now this will not, they will not renew the permits any further. So it's very difficult, to be honest. And
Carol, let me rephrase it.
Sorry?
Let me rephrase it. Do you think that law-abiding migrants are being punished for the sins of illegal immigrants?
Yeah, that it's a 50-50 way. I know. So in my experience, and for being in the humanitarian, so working for Lawyers for Human Rights, what we have seen is that people are trying their best to document themselves. So it might be difficult in a number of ways, but people are trying their best. So now, if this was motivated by the other people who come in and who are undocumented in South Africa, then it becomes, it's a 50-50 way, because people are trying their best, but there is a blockage due to, a number of reasons. So even now, it's going to be even more difficult, because if you say now they should follow the mainstream visa by using apply for mainstream visas using the Immigration Act, most of these people do not qualify, because you called upon people who are domestic workers, you called upon people who were previously refugees, you called people who do not qualify for the critical skills visa. So if now you're going to say, I'm cutting this because I want people to follow the Immigration Act to document themselves, these people have never qualified. So what would make them qualify now? And if you're going to make this decision based on the other people who are not documented, then you are saying that you want to add more to the number of people who are undocumented, because they have bounds in South Africa. They have financial bounds, they have social bounds, they have children who are going to school, they have properties and, you know, a whole number of things that we will count. So it will not be easy for people who have lived their whole lives or 20 years in South Africa to say, now we are going back to Zimbabwe. Not everyone will be willing to do that. So then if it's based on that, the number of people who are undocumented, then it's totally not reasonable, because then we are adding, in a way, we are adding to the number of people who are going to be undocumented in the near future.
Carol, how does this impact relations between South Africa and Zimbabwe within the SADC region? And also, what moral questions should we also be asking or addressing at this point? When we look at solutions or propositions, I mean, are there ways for migrants to be vetted? Can we assess the value, you know, of their presence in the country to the economy? How do we begin to explore some of those options as well?
So in terms of the relation between South Africa and Zimbabwe, honestly speaking, I think this as the relationship will not be a good relationship anymore, because even looking at the cross-border coordinations that are being put in place now, and you know, there are just a number of things that are restricting and putting boundaries between South Africa and Zimbabwe. So it's going to be difficult for us to work together in future. Like, just looking at the near future, I don't think there will be any more relations between the two countries. And
Carol, unfortunately, I'm going to have to interrupt you there. Thank you very much for your time here at the SABC. Carol Lemekwane joining us via Zoom, Human Rights Law Clinic in Johannesburg.